Welcome back, friends. We're visiting with our guest today, Beverly Ekman. She's author of the book, Walking Targets, How Our Psychologized Classrooms Are Producing a Nation of Sitting Ducks. And we're going to be talking about that in this segment. She's also author of this best-selling book, internationally best-selling, award-winning book called Cloning of the American Mind, Eradicating Morality. Eradicating Morality through education. You know, Beverly, as we went to the break, you were sharing with us that all of this information has been called and that it's been accumulated in some big computer somewhere, and the name of it is?
The National Center for Education Statistics.
There you go.
And it's part of the Department of Education, along with a lot of other, the Department of Education, if you looked at an organization chart, you would know why that particular name flew out the window, because it entails, I had to actually glue sheets of paper together, and it covered an entire floor.
My goodness. Well, you know, I think that it points out something very, very important. While there's a lot of talk in the media today about the illegality of profiling, the great reality is there's a lot of profiling that's going on.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's what you were sharing with us when you were talking about children being tagged, marked in some way in this computer system based on the fact that they practice a religion. It doesn't matter what the religion is, it just is that they practice a religion.
Well, firm religious belief is equated to mental illness.
Yes.
And it's very important that parents understand that.
And I think that we've seen this, but I don't know that we've connected the dots. You know, sometimes Father Ed says to me, Jeanette, don't connect all the dots because you could come up with the wrong picture.
That's true.
But sometimes, Jeanette, connect the dots because you come up with the right picture.
That's true.
And here's a dot connector. We see a relationship here between what you're talking about and what we're hearing, viewing, and experiencing through media. When you talk about the marginalizing of religious individuals and religious opinion.
Because it's dogmatic. They call it dogmatism, rigidity, and non-tolerance.
And inflexibility.
And inflexibility. Those four things, and you can thank Eric Fromm, and you can thank Theodor Adorno. And both they came from Germany, but it migrated right over here with a lot of immigrants.
And the fact of the matter is then, if you can marginalize somebody of a religious persuasion and label them as being mentally ill, then you can effectively denounce their position and worldview and get rid of that opinion, get rid of that mindset, get rid of that person. So that you then don't have that influence or have to deal with that pesky problem as you move forward.
Well, you know, the thing that we forget today, no, we're not standing people up against the wall and shooting them. You don't have to do it. Not in America. All you have to do is marginalize them by status. All you have to do is make sure they can't go to the next career ladder. All you have to do is to make sure that they can't your child can't get into the college of his choice. And how do they do that? Oh, they say everything, you got these beautiful SAT scores, and you just seem like such a nice young man or a nice young woman. And when they have their interview, their oral interview, then you talk to them a while, and they get pretty much a feel for how flexible or intolerant or whatever that they want to call it. And they send a letter back saying, you know, but we have talked about it among ourselves, and we just feel like you'd be happier someplace else. Well, how can you argue with that?
Yes. Yes.
You've marginalized them.
Right. And, of course, we've seen this happen, haven't we? I'm thinking of the Miss California situation that we had.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm thinking of, you know, what happened to Laura Schlesinger.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
By the Militant Gay.
I put that in there, I think.
Yeah, agenda. And we've seen this happen time and time again. We're watching it happen now with some other well-known pundits, you know.
Glenn Beck,
Rush Limbaugh. We're watching this happen, and we're wondering what's going on. Well, that's what's going on. But why? Why is this going on, Beverly? What is the end result? What's the prize here?
A world socialist government. There are people, unbelievably to us, that have never and do not now believe that democracy, in a representative democracy, which is a republic, is doable. is viable in the long term. And
well, one way to make sure it isn't viable is to bring it down.
You got that right.
You know? So it's got to be about power and control.
It is power
in the end,
and
it's
control.
power and control.
There are people who want to sit, so to speak, on the board of directors of this country. They don't want a king. They don't want really they want to be the controllers that are
what's happening.
like the puppet.
Mm-hmm. The puppet master.
The puppet master.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the end game. They think they are going to sit on the board of directors controlling what happens to the economic, political, work, whatever it is, financial future of America. The interesting thing is that a lot of these factions who think that everything's going to be hunky-dory, say the homosexual faction, they may find themselves sitting right there in the firing squad down the line. Not from us, but from their own.
Mm-hmm. Because in the end,
can change.
Well, in the end, when you have this kind of vision, let's call it a vision. When you have this kind of a vision, in the end, anything, any group, any organization, any person can be used along the way to work towards the ultimate end without any true commitment to anything, any person, any group that you've used along the way.
Right.
It's a very utilitarian approach and a very utilitarian view of the human person, the world, and everything that is in the world. And what would be some buzzwords that we would be hearing today, perhaps, that would alert us to this kind of a mindset or vision?
Well, green, I mean, sloganism. Mm-hmm. Your slogans usually and sound bites are how you gauge what's coming up next. And you know what, when you, climate change. Okay, before it was global warming. Well, suddenly they realized global warming wasn't a fact and they couldn't prove it. And not only could they not prove it, it had been cooling. Okay, but so they switched it real quick to climate change, but they still got the same old ball rolling, which shows the other side that, you know what, we lost that position. And monogamy, of course, is gone because we don't talk about that anymore. We talk about marriage in a series of marriages is what is one. I'm thinking right now, the reason I'm hesitating is because my hairdresser, who's youngish, said to me something that I didn't think my jaw would drop over much. But it did. She said, you know what? I would never consider not marrying someone I hadn't slept with. I mean, you might not be compatible. Mm-hmm. Where did she get this? Compatible. So there's where your buzzwords are coming in. And we're just absorbing this stuff like a sponge.
Right. Not
even realizing where we heard it the last time.
Yes, because it's being given to the American population through media, all forms of media, television, internet, magazine articles that target all the way down to the youngest of our children, the tweens and the teens, when they're very impressionable and seeking their own identity. It's presented in classroom settings, guidance counseling scenarios.
Yep.
It is presented to them in books and in novels, in
Oh,
marketing.
I saw a shirt that was obviously aimed at a 10-year-old T-shirt, and it said on it, "Future porn star."
You know, and